All right. Welcome to
POW. Yeah, delayed. Keep it in. That's our introduction.
Keep it in. Okay, that's great. That's great. We'll keep it in. It's your pal, Alan.
And I'm Jake.
And we are so excited that you're here because it's a little bit of a different thing. We don't have our couches, but that's because we didn't want to be limited to the amount of time for us to be talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier. And we're going to talk about the whole thing. We're going to talk about the full shebang, episodes 1 through 6. And we're going to kind of break it down by characters, by significant moments, and then our own personal thoughts. So I'm really excited, Jake. What are your like first thoughts? Pre-spoiler about the show.
Yeah. I think the action sequences are awesome. That's definitely the strong suit of the show. The writing struggled for me. Personally, I think that some of the writing was a little too on the nose, and didn't make you think at all, which some people might like, but it just felt like they were just trying to explain every little detail to us.
Sure.
And it's like, we don't need everything to be explained to us. And then, yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably my main takeaways from it is the action sequences were awesome. And the writing was hit and miss sometimes for me. What about you?
Cool. Yeah. You know what? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I think the writing was, there were some hokey stuff in it. I thought the overall plot, most of it was good. I just really enjoyed, Sam and Bucky, honestly, which is what the show is about. So, so I enjoyed them too the most. And then we'll talk about all the other stuff, but so those are my very, very first thoughts. Guys, this is really great because I want to preface it with this is that Jake and I have different thoughts about this. And I think this is good for everyone to know that you and your friends can have disagreements and still be friends. I think that's the best takeaway out of this. Cause I know Jake and I have already talked a little bit about this, but we both have different thoughts and that's okay. That's totally fine. We're not here to convince each other otherwise. We're just here to give our thoughts and hopefully you guys give yours, leave them in the comments, subscribe, and just let us know what you think. So
it's also nice because in a lot of podcasts, when you see like reviews, they're either in total agreement that it sucks or they're in total agreement that it's just the best thing ever. It's so great. Yeah. So it'll be cool. I'm ready.
It's good. It's good to know. I like the fact that you and I have different ideas about a lot of stuff, but I think it aligns. So, cool. So let's just start out with the characters. And the very first, and obviously spoiler warning, because we're talking about the whole thing. So let's talk about Sam Wilson. So right off the bat, Sam gives up the shield and he is very reluctant basically the whole time. There's even a line in the show at some point where he's like, I should have never dealt with that shield. Like I want to destroy it or something like that. He said something like that. Yeah. And, but I really enjoyed Sam. I liked his whole arc in this whole thing. I think the reason why I rooted so hard for him at the end when he did get Captain America was because I felt it was deserved. I felt it was honored. I also watched Winter Soldier and Civil War and like Infinity War Endgame before this. So I feel like I got the whole scope of Sam's story, so from beginning to end, literally. When he first had those janky military, like bulky wings, and they were kind of slow now that I think about it. Now that I like watched Winter Soldier compared to his wings now, I'm like, oh my gosh, he had like really slow wings back in the day. Like, but I just love his character development. I love seeing his home and like the boat stuff was really cool. I just really think he's a really good man, and well deserved of the title. So what do you think, Jake?
I think this show was for sure. It is Falcon and Winter Soldier, but this show was like 70% Falcon to me, 30% Winter Soldier. I think as far as character development, he had the most in this show. Winter Soldier was like, from the beginning, he was trying to mark things off of his list and going to, like, he was already working on himself. So by the end, he was already basically in the same spot he was at the end or the beginning. But Falcon, Sam Wilson, like, he was really contemplating from the very beginning about taking the shield. And then when he finally does take it, and you have this scene where he comes flying in and he has his new outfit on, new costume. Yeah. It's this like powerful thing because he finally accepted it. Plus all this stuff with Isaiah Bradley, which we'll talk about, but that all led up to him being the first black, well, I guess not first black Captain America, but donning the stars and stripes. So I think this is more of a Sam story than it is a Winter Soldier story to me personally. So I think he had probably the biggest role to play out of any of the characters that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I agree with that. He definitely took a bulk of like the whole show. Cause I mean, it mostly was, the title says it all, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? Like the Winter Soldier is underneath and clearly it was all about him taking the stars and stripes. It was clearly about that. Let's move on to Bucky since we're on his train. I thought that I kind of disagree with you in the fact that I think that the arc for him was his acceptance of the freedom he was already given. Because I think a lot of times, like people with PTSD and trauma, they really do go through like this weird process of like, am I truly free? Am I truly done with all of this? Am I truly, just having gone through that sort of thing myself, where I already know I'm fixed, but why am I acting like I'm not, you know? And that's, I mean, that's part of the Christian and this nerdy Christian talk that we're talking about right now is the fact that like, I think that Bucky still had a hard time accepting, and maybe these like him taking the things off the list was sort of like his way of trying to, him sort of trying to like accept it, but he wasn't really, because he was really more serving himself. And what Sam said at the end was really good. He's like, oh, you're trying to make you feel good. You have to make others feel good. So I think that like that was his arc, but I do agree with you that like it was basically around 30%. 30% is a really good number for how much Bucky was in this, as far as like his development is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, as far as his backstory and stuff, I mean, it might even be less than that. Yeah. Only the first episode, really, we get any sort of like nowadays his life. It's just that old Asian guy, and that's pretty much, and the Asian girl that he walks out on the date. Yeah.
And the therapist.
And the therapist, and that's pretty much it. There's not much more that we learn about him. So but Sam, like we get all of his family, his sister, his nephews, like all the people at the dock that know and owed his family, and like
you're right. We do get a lot of that, don't we? We like actually find out where he's from and stuff, and we're like, oh, cool. But you're right. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. We don't ever find out about like Bucky's history, like beyond what we already know. Yeah. Beyond him being the Winter Soldier and him being Steve's friend. Like, that's so weird. Now that I just think about it. Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting. So let's move on to one of the new characters in the MCU for this, who is a guy named John Walker. And, since we were talking about Steve earlier, John Walker off the bat for me was just bad news, man. Like I saw his stupid face and I was like, oh, I hate you already. I hate you already.
I seen a meme or something, or it was maybe an article. I can't remember, but they're like, you're not supposed to like John Walker. Like it's the costume is supposed to fit wrong. It's supposed to fit weird. So you feel weird when you look at him because he's not Steve Rogers. He's not Captain America.
Wow. So, that's good.
So I mean, he's not Captain America.
Right.
He got the shield not properly, I guess you could say, because Steve didn't give it to him.
Right.
So it did feel off, and it should have felt off. Like that's one part of the story. I would say John Walker is probably as far as like ups and downs and stuff, he had the most interesting story out of anyone, even more than Sam, even more than Bucky, like all of them. He had the most interesting story because he's this Captain America that's like, he's got dirt and grit. And like, I know as a Batman fan, I'm just like, the dirt and grit. I love it. Like shows more of a human side, and that you're not always this perfect person that is preaching to other people to be better. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you're going through things too. And not that Sam or Steve never went through anything, because they absolutely do and did. But sometimes, I don't know, I think, and we'll talk about the ending of the whole series, the whole like monologue thing that happened. But sometimes for me, it just feels a little, I don't want to say preachy, because that's not it. It's not really a talking down. I don't know. It's I don't know. You tell me your thoughts on John Walker. We'll save this for the end.
Thanks, man. I really, first of all, here's one revelation that I had when John Walker came in. I was like, oh, anyone can throw that shield. I was like, because he wasn't a super soldier, and they showed that clip of him doing an exercise where he threw it, and it did like a whole ricochet, and it came back to him like a boomerang. I was like, oh, that's how they're going to explain Sam being able to throw the shield, is that anyone can throw it with practice and with time. They're just not going to be able to throw it in the force that Steve can. That's all. But it has the same properties of being able to bounce back and stuff, which is really interesting. So that's not a John Walker thing. That's a shield thing. But I just realized that like the very end, when John Walker is like being buddy with Bucky for like 2 seconds, I realized, man, Bucky's killed a lot more people than John Walker has. So that's probably why Bucky is kind of like okay with being buddy with him, because because he's like, oh, I can't really talk because I killed so many people. Bucky has killed, I'm sure, way more people than like John Walker will ever in his life.
Yeah, he's 100 years old.
He's got 100 years worth of kills. But also like John was a good soldier. Like he said it in the end. He's like in the trial scene where he's like, I did everything for you guys. Like I did exactly everything for you guys, and this is how you treat me. Which is sort of reminiscent of Captain America, of Steve at that point, which is he's a byproduct of the government. And in Civil War, Steve was like, no, they're trying to control us. Like we can't just allow that to happen. Well, John Walker has that sort of revelation in a bad way. Like it comes through a death. It comes through him murdering someone in the street, but it's a revelation that he has in the same way that Steve did. So I felt that like in the end, he started to become more like Steve by nature of him defying the government that made him. And which is a really interesting talk on just Captain America in general, that like, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny to me how everybody freaks out about John Walker killing this guy in the street. If you watch any of the other Avenger movies, they're all killing people. Every single one of them. They're throwing people off of buildings. They're like throwing the shield through them. Like every single one of them is killing somebody.
Yeah. I think it's the way that this was done. You know what I mean?
Know. Like, we talked about this
where the dude's like laying down. He's literally saying, no, stop. And then he, I mean, in a fit of rage, because, I could, if somebody were coming at me like, and trying to lay hands on me, I'd be like, I'm definitely fighting back. I'm definitely going to try. Like, but if they were just like sitting up, if they were laying on the ground, like saying, hey man, stop, I'm done. But I keep going. I guess that's where that is where like,
true.
Oh shoot, that dude literally was trying to say stop. And, which, again, we'll talk about this later, which could be a commentary on, George Floyd and obviously that ordeal of law enforcement killing someone unarmed on the street. So, so long story short for me, John Walker, I feel like he does kind of have like a redemption thing going on at the end. I'm cool with him being U.S. agent. I'm ready. I'm like excited for him to be U.S. agent. Actually, I'm
curious, is he going to be a villain though? Because some people are like, Madam Hydra or whatever what's her actual name?
Val.
Yeah,
Val. John called her Val, and that's all I can think about, because he said she's like, don't call me that. He's like, copy. They were talking about Thunderbolts or something, weren't they?
Yeah, Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers.
Yeah.
Possibly. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where the character goes because John Walker at the beginning I didn't like.
Yeah.
Even when he took his helmet off, I still didn't like him, the character, the person. He was just weird, like the way that he talked, the way that he. The one scene where he's being interviewed.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Oh.
Did that not remind you of like The Boys and Homelander when he's getting like interviewed? It felt the exact same.
Absolutely. Where he's like faking, he's acting, you know, he's putting on this like interesting charm, like there's a different charm, but then when he's, you know, when he's with his friends or whatever, doesn't talk like that. No. It's totally put on. Yeah, I mean, but that also reminded me of the fact of when Steve had to put on the costume. And that's the reason why he had a costume in the first place, was because the government was like, well, we have no use for you besides being an entertainer. So like you entertain. And so again, that's true. There are parallels. There are parallels between Steve and John, just not the ones that we want for Captain America. That's all. Yeah. So let's move on. Since we're in John's corner, let's talk about Lamar, Battlestar. Man, I thought Lamar was such a great character, and I really wish, well, let's talk about the sidekicks. Let's talk about Lamar and let's talk about Torres. So Lamar's really great. I thought he was a great moral compass for John, which is why it hurt when he died. So what do you think?
No, I think that's spot on. I mean, he even asked him, he wanted to rationalize taking the super soldier serum. And he's like, if you ever got a chance to, because he wanted Lamar to say, yeah, I would, of course. Right. And of course, Lamar says that. He's like, yeah, man, of course I would. Yeah. And when he takes it, he has his friend who's his confidant, his best friend, like the person that he goes to, tell him that, yeah, I would take it. So he takes it. Yeah. But I think that's what ends up sending him over the edge. Like it's this crazy thing where Lamar, like you said, is his moral compass. So when he gets killed, the super soldier serum just amps that up. Like Zemo said, whatever the person is, it literally just ups whatever that is. That's right. So he had anger. He was angry. Boom, angry. He went and killed somebody. Yeah. Because of it. Wow. So basically Lamar's sort of, I don't know, like kind of premonitionally, you know, like his Jiminy Cricket. Yeah. His like own, like it kind of dealt his own death almost. Yeah. When Lamar died, John was going to kill somebody. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, let's talk about Torres real quick. Torres, man, I'm so excited for him. He's got wings. Here's one thing that somebody said on a YouTube breakdown was, he's like, hey, if you could see here, look at all the tools that like Torres has on the table that he's, you know, when there's a shot of him like listening to Sam on TV, they were like, he could be working on the wings right now, you know? Oh yeah. And well, in the first episode, doesn't he, when he's talking to Sam, doesn't Sam say like they fix his wings, or like he's a part of the people that fix his wings or something? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've seen episode 1, but was he working? Was he working on Red Wing? He was working on Red Wing, right? Sam? No, I'm thinking about when they're in, the first time we find out about the Flag Smashers, when they're in like that, the like, I don't even know, the courtyard area. Yeah. Courtyard. Yeah, sure. And they're talking to each other, and I'm fairly certain they're talking about like fixing the suit or whatever. And Torres was one of the people that fixes the suit. Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't remember that. I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong. Okay. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that I'll need to go back and look. Yeah. I'm pretty sure because they were, oh man, I should have watched it all over again. That's all right. Either way, you know, it sounds like to me that like now that Torres has the wings, he can fix it, or he can get somebody else in the government to fix it. Cause that's what I think is why Sam has been getting upgrades. Not only because of, you know, probably Stark or whatever, but because that's Stark tech, but I'm sure that he had support from the government as far as like his wings are concerned and his tech. All right, I have a question for you. Yeah. So we know that he's going to become. Is he going to become Falcon, you think?
Yeah. So in the comic books, he becomes the new Falcon because I'm pretty sure he's an Inhuman, and he literally has like wings, like he's like Angel almost. Like that's his.
When is he going to, what movie, TV show is he going to pop up in? Because eventually he's going to pop up in something.
I think Captain America 4.
Man, I got to think that he's going to pop up somewhere before that.
You think so?
What If? Obviously, no. Miss Marvel, maybe. Thor: Love and Thunder. I could see him popping up in Hawkeye.
Oh, sure.
Hawkeye,
sure. I can see that.
Moon Knight, maybe. I'm just trying to think if it's like a super like supernatural thing. I don't think he pops up in Thor.
No.
Captain Marvel 2.
Probably more of like a grounded, like you said, like a grounded type show. I would love it if he popped up in Hawkeye. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Even if he doesn't have wings, if he's just, a representative of like the government or, but I do, cause I liked him a lot. Like I liked him in the first episode. I thought he reminded me of Steve, honestly. He was a
cool character. I liked him too.
Yeah. And in the comic books, he's kind of this like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed sort of guy who just was very like, he was just like all about it. You know what I mean? He like, oh yeah, like I love being a superhero. Like I love, so yeah, I'm excited for him. I hope that he does don the wings and that it's green. In the comic books, his wings are green, or like his costume is green. So hopefully, he does a little paint job, gets it all nice and green, and then he can join Bucky and Sam in some adventures. That'd be cool. Let's talk about Carly and the Flag Smashers. I'll let you start this off. What do you think about Carly and the Flag Smashers?
I thought they were kind of boring. Like there was never a sense of like, and I know that's what Marvel was trying to do here. They were trying to have like the bad guy, like they did kind of with Thanos, but then try to humanize them and what they're fighting for. But there was never really a sense of like, oh my gosh, how is Sam going to do this? They're going to blow up the whole world. They're like, you got it a little bit towards the end, but you knew he just became Captain America. So there was never this,
right.
There was never this threat that was going to take out Sam and Bucky. Like, I don't know. Maybe there was too much depth or just not enough depth with the Flag Smashers that made them kind of a boring villain. Like,
yeah.
And then towards the end, when Sam does his big monologue thing, they weren't villains. It kind of made it feel like the politicians were the villains, but that's, to me, like that's good in theory, but it's also not an interesting story. Like if you want to make the politicians the big bad villain, then you got to show that more. You got to show some of the backseat things that are happening that they're doing. And granted, they tried to explain that a little bit with the displacement of houses and moving people back to their original countries and whatnot. But it was all like just talking in between Flag Smashers. So
yeah,
I don't know. To me, they were just kind of boring, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah. I thought the Flag Smashers were boring. I don't think Carly was boring. And we talked about this last night in our Nerdy Christian Bible study. Michaela brought up the fact that the Flag Smashers had like a missing storyline, and they did because if some of y'all don't know, I'm talking to YouTube land, that the Flag Smashers had a different plot line, which was the GRC actually released a virus, and they were killing off refugees to make room for more people who got back from the blip. And so the whole, scenes of them taking out stealing vaccines and supplies, that was meant to be them trying to, Robin Hood it for the refugees, for like to get them better from the virus. But obviously because of the pandemic, Disney decided to pull that storyline. And so there's some like edits that feel weird, especially like, with Mama Danya, like who the heck was that? I have no idea who Mama Danya was. Why did I care? Like, why was I supposed to care?
Did they say why they cut that stuff?
Because of the pandemic, because of our real life pandemic. So
that's stupid though.
It is stupid.
That's a dumb reason.
I think they should have leaned. I think they should have leaned into it. Honestly. Yeah. Perfect timing. Yeah. Like, good. You guys thought of this storyline even before the pandemic happened. Like, wow, maybe it's a sign, like, so the Flag Smash. I wish the Flag Smashers interacted more with each other. I really wish I knew more of the Flag Smashers. The only other Flag Smasher that you knew was the guy who died, which makes sense because, they all
died. They
all died. Yeah. but the guy who got killed, murdered by John, and then the Asian guy, who I thought was gonna at the end was gonna be the Flag Smasher. You know what I mean? Like, which would have been so sweet. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The Flag Smashers were kind of they were just there to be there. And I also didn't like.
Again, it's there to further the story. That's it.
Yeah, I'm cool with using, things to further plot, but if you're gonna use them, then use them to their full extent. I thought Carly was. I wish I could say that she was more developed.
Yeah.
But all I saw was her getting more and more evil, which I could rationalize to think like, oh yeah, it's because her family and her friends, like they've all been wronged by the GRC. I get it. But at the same time, a part of me does feel like she needed that extra boost. Like she needed that vaccine storyline to further the reason why she got so crazy at the end and why she just like stopped reasoning,
We never they never showed us like her. Did they show us her as a kid or anything? Like, or not even her as a kid, but just like a couple years ago when the GRC came in and they're like, no, they didn't show any of that.
They didn't show that, yeah.
So for us, not that, which is crazy to me because they explained everything else.
They did explain a lot. Yeah.
They explained everything else, but not showing us the human side where like they showed that throughout all of Infinity War and Endgame. Like they showed Thanos and not to compare these two, because obviously Infinity War and Endgame were much bigger for the MCU. But they showed backstory of like Thanos with Gamora and how their relationship was and like all of the backstory and stuff. And they humanized them to where we could understand a little bit where Thanos was coming from. Whereas Carly, not that we couldn't understand where she was coming from, but there was no humanizing aspect or a scene that we saw where she was just like at her lowest to where she had to do these things to save all of these people. And we only got, if I had to guess, people like showing other people other than the Flag Smashers in these camps or whatever, maybe 3 minutes out of the whole show. Like, not a lot, because when they're in the camps, they're either showing Carly and the Flag Smashers or the quote unquote good guys trying to find Carly. So you don't really. Yeah. Maybe
more time in the camp. Yeah, I was just going to say maybe more time in the camps of like getting to know some of the refugees and like what their plights were. And also for Carly's sake, allowing her to be good and vulnerable, like that good side of her. I also thought that they had this storyline in the whole show where her and Sam have similar ideals. And then that's why she has a line at the end that said, out of all the people, I can't believe you bought into this bullshit. That's what she said to Sam. And I said, man, I wish that line had more weight, but it doesn't, because they didn't fully flesh out like conversations between her and Sam. I imagined in my head, like it was my own headcanon, that they had met prior to him being Captain America and her prior to her being revealed as a Flag Smasher, like that they met at like, I don't know, like a grocery store or something. And she was trying to like she's just trying to get groceries for her I don't know, like friend, I don't know, her mom or something.
Yeah.
Like something like where two humans are just talking and relating, and then they go their separate ways, and then they find out that, oh my gosh, you're Sam Wilson, the Falcon, Captain America, and then you're Carly from the Flag Smashers, and then that's when they start to be at odds. They had that idea, I could tell, but they didn't flesh it out. And so so again, that weight of them at the end where it's like, I can't believe you bought into that bullshit, Sam. I'm like, oh, I wish that had more. I wish that you guys actually had that sort of relationship. And so when she did get shot, I was like, why are you so concerned, Sam? Like in my head, I'm like, why are you so concerned? You don't like, your bad guy's done. You're like, great, good for you. You did it. But no, it's like they're trying to convey that, like, oh, Sam's so hurt by this. Oh, and I'm like, I don't know if that was deserved. So that's how. I wish that they were done a little bit more. So let's talk about the sort of more minor characters, like Baron Zemo. What did you think about Baron Zemo in this show?
Zemo is great. Like he was a comedic relief in some parts. Like I honestly enjoyed, like, I know you said you liked Bucky and Sam interacting. I honestly like Zemo interacting with Bucky and Zemo interacting with Sam more than I liked Bucky and Sam interacting.
Interesting.
And I don't know if that's the actor that plays Zemo because he sells the character so well.
For sure.
Or it's just like the scenarios that they get put into. But I and Zemo, other than, man, I don't know. Zemo was just such an interesting character, especially when you seen him when you seen him put that mask on and you seen him like jump off the thing and fight other people and shoot people and stuff. Yeah. Like I guess I didn't realize, because when I watched back through Winter Soldier and Civil War and all that, I didn't realize that they said in Civil War that he was special ops for Sokovia. And so when you see that, because they don't really show him fighting. They don't show him fighting at all in Civil War. Yeah. It's just him planning all of this stuff, which is cool. But seeing him like actually fight and seeing his special ops in action, was sweet. Yeah. Not to mention his I wouldn't even say growth as a character, but his timeline as a character in this show particularly was just interesting to me. Yeah.
It was really interesting. I like him. I like the fact that he got his suit, like his comic book suit, which is really cool. I wish he was in the mask a little bit more, just because that's the Zemo we know. We don't really see his face, but Daniel Bruhl is just like a great actor. I think that you're right, that he's just a great actor. He's got like this really interesting, quirky, weird acting style. Especially when he plays Zemo, because Zemo is, supposed to be this conniving villain. He's a very different version of Loki to me. Yeah. Like, he's very, conniving, and his words, you can never really fully trust his words. He is probably the smartest person in the room whenever you're around him. And I love that. I love that about Zemo. I think I'm really excited to see where he goes as far as, the Thunderbolts go, or Dark Avengers, whatever he gets to do next. But one thing I really found funny was that he was rich. I guess I didn't realize
he was very rich.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize, like, oh, that makes sense, because in Civil War he was able to go to all these countries and do all these things. Like, how did he do that with all the with what resources? Oh, because he's rich. Like, yeah, makes sense.
He's a baron.
He's a baron. Like,
yeah. We actually find out that he's a legit baron, and that's just not a name that he has. Yeah, like he's royalty in Sokovia.
Right. It's not his first name. That's a title. Yeah. Curious. What did you think about Isaiah Bradley?
We talked about this. I would say that Isaiah Bradley, the storyline that they did there, and the social commentary was excellent. Like it was so good. Right on. And that's what I wish they focused on more, was those social commentary moments within the story that held weight. Like at the end of the series, when Sam brings him to the museum and and he shows Isaiah that he has this memorial basically for him and the other soldiers that fought back then. Like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And they took time to build that. They took time to build Isaiah and to show what he believed, because he had been wronged. Like they didn't have to show him fighting back then because of the way that the actor was portraying
so good
Isaiah and how he just was wronged from the government. And that's not a wild stretch. Like, it's not wild to think that a black man in the 60s or 70s or 50s, whenever it was, would have been mistreated. That's not crazy. So it makes total sense. And then the fact that they use him to basically push Sam to become Captain America, because Sam is like fighting against, like, they won't let a black man become Captain America. And Sam in his head is like, oh, I'm going to become Captain America because I believe that I can make the world better by showing people a black man as Captain America. Yeah. So the Isaiah storyline was awesome. It was so good. It's so well done. That's probably, as far as this show goes, probably the best thing that they did in the show was the Isaiah storyline and how it related to Sam becoming Captain America, by far.
I agree. They were delicate with it. They were delicate, but also powerful in their statement with Isaiah Bradley. And you're right, it does make sense. And that did historically happen. There were a lot of black men who were recruited in Civil War, for both sides of the Civil War. And you know, you don't ever think about that. And so, I thought it was really genius of them to like pull that storyline out, because in the comic books, I mean, that was almost like a one-off, that comic book. They expanded on it later, but like that was almost like a one-off issue of like, oh, look at this guy. Like he was after Steve. I remember when I first read about that on Wikipedia, I was just like, I was just browsing around, thinking, researching Captain America just because I'm just interested. And I looked at who wore the shield or who wore the stars and stripes. And he was the second one, like, ever. And I thought that was really interesting. And I thought that I thought it was really cool that like Bucky sort of kept it a secret, which made it more impactful for when Sam found out that, like, oh my gosh, maybe I wouldn't have given up the shield if I knew that, So I think, man, Isaiah is probably, you're right. I can agree with you that like he's probably the best part of the show, and in terms of full development, for the value that he got. Like, he only was in a few scenes, but those scenes were strong, really powerful, and you already got like his essence, without much more than that. And so, not to mention, he was a huge crying moment for me at the end of episode 6, when Sam gave him his own memorial in the Super Soldier, like the Steve Rogers, like Captain America, whatever, in the Smithsonian. Like, when he got that was huge. That was huge, because that's what you wanted for him. Like, as a person watching the show, you're like, dang, I just want you to get your recognition and to get your due, because you suffered so much.
And he didn't want it. He didn't want it. He didn't want it, but he got it. Yep. And you realize at the end, he wanted it.
He wanted it. Yeah. he did. The dude went through a lot. So let's talk about Sarah. Bucky's new love interest, basically. I thought Sarah was great. I mean, she was a great little thing for Sam. Yeah. She didn't get that much character development besides besides like, well, she was she's a hardworking single mom. And she tried to keep the business afloat while Sam was gone. Which one thing I didn't like was that, like, she was like blaming Sam, like, oh, you weren't here. And I'm like, yeah, because he was saving the world. And it was not his fault that he got blipped out of existence for 5 years. That's the only gripe I have about Sarah. I'm like,
but in her defense, though, like, in her defense, Sam comes back and he's like, hey, I'm going to help fix. Yeah. Don't sell the boat. Don't do that. Yeah. And she's like, well, you weren't here. Like, I had to figure things out. So she's just trying to like get to him like, hey, I appreciate it, but I've done all this work and held this together for 5 years without you.
True. Yeah.
So I kind of understand where she's coming from, but also, yeah, I mean, it's not his fault that he got blipped out of existence.
Yeah. And I think that's just brother and sister bickering at that point. I'm just like, all right, sure. You guys are just fighting just to fight. So, Sarah's fine. She's cool. Good character. I love her flirting with Bucky. That's fantastic. I love that.
That was funny. That was one of the funnier moments. I think there were a lot of misses on trying to be funny.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty funny.
Agreed. Cause Bucky's super awkward. So let's talk about the power broker herself, Sharon Carter. What do you think about Sharon in this show?
It was so dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, I'm just saying, literally, if they just took out that scene where, if they took out the couple of scenes where they kind of insinuate that she's the power broker, and then she just reveals it at the end, how much more crazy would that ending have been? Like I said, this is where the show just tried to explain too much.
Yeah.
Where it just took away the ending.
Yeah.
Like of finding out who the power broker was. Because they made it seem like it was this huge character that had all this power and all this money and they controlled everything. And then they show a scene where she's like on the phone doing like bad guy villain talk. And then everybody knows that she's the power broker. Like,
it wasn't bad.
Nope. Yeah. No, literally, if anyone was surprised by that, I will be shocked.
Yeah.
Because they whoever wrote this, which I think is writing Captain America 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever wrote this and directed it. Hopefully they learned from this experience and they just don't try to explain everything to us.
Yeah.
Because they just and then at the end, oh my gosh, when she's walking out of the where she gets pardoned.
You loved it.
I need to pull that scene up because it is shocking. She literally, this is almost verbatim. I mean, it's kind of paraphrasing, but she's walking out and she goes, "Yeah, I know they don't have the super soldier serum anymore, but they have government secrets and weapons and all these other things." I'm like, why do you need to tell us that? You don't need to tell us that. We know. We watched Winter Soldier. We know that people can get into government things and take things from that.
Yeah.
So they just tried to explain too much, and she was so on the nose with what they had to explain about her, and it's like, just leave some mystery for us to figure out on our own, just something. Yeah. Because I don't think. Was there anything in this show that we had to legit figure out on our own?
I mean, not really. Nope.
I don't think there was.
Nope.
And that's some of that is like, I just watched The Witcher recently.
Nice.
And it's almost the exact opposite in that show, to where they don't really explain a lot. Like the timelines are so messed up the way that they're showing things, and you have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
But some of that is rewarding. Like when you get to figure out something in a show before they tell you without like legit telling you, or if you're just shocked because they reveal something, that's so much more rewarding than just explaining every little bit to me. And I think that was probably my biggest gripe with the whole show, is just they tried to explain everything.
Yeah.
And her character, they explained more than anything else, and they didn't have to.
They didn't have to. You're right. They added too many scenes with her being a power type character. Like too many scenes. They didn't need to do the scene where I think it was like after episode 3 or something, where she's beating up all these guys. They find out about the guy who created the super soldier serum. And then she gets into a car and there's a minion there. Like, oh, we have trouble. And she like closes the door, and you're like looking back on it now, I'm like, why did you need this? You didn't need to show that. That was you're right. They continue to put clues on clues. Where at that point you're just like, oh, come on. Like, of course she's a power broker. Of course. Why is this even like a question? There are not enough characters in this show to try to figure out which one they are. It can't be Zemo. It couldn't be Carl. Like there's not enough characters in the show to try to like figure it out. I think it was also a stark difference from WandaVision, where WandaVision every week everyone was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so maybe by nature of like how WandaVision is, it was probably like a good break from that. But at the same time, I'm like, but that would have been nice to like have at least
this was
one
supposed
thing.
to come out. This was supposed to come out before WandaVision.
Before WandaVision, sure. Either way, it would have been. You're right. It would have been nice to have like a little bit of mystery, and they just like it just like didn't happen. And I thought that I know that Sharon does do evil things in the comic books, but then she comes back to being a good guy. So maybe this is their version of it, which is fine. I still don't have, I just wish they gave us a little bit more of like why Sharon was so hurt and why he pushed her to be the power broker, why he pushed her to go to Madripoor and like live her life in seclusion and things like that. So, it was a miss for me on that one.
One last thing too, is that she was the power broker and wasn't she the one that had that guy in the lab, like making the serum? So she literally walk them straight to where the serum was getting made and then help them fight off all of the bounty hunters that were trying to get to them with her super soldier serum. And that stuff is expensive. Like she's just going to throw all of that away just to possibly get a pardon. Like,
right. I think
that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think they were trying to convey that that was her plot the whole time. That was her goal, was to get pardon and using Sam to get it. And it worked. She won. She got it. She got what she wanted. But that was a little messy of believability. Like, I'm that clever that like, I'm going to make them go to kill like how did she know that Zemo was even going to kill him? Like, it's a lot of like unknowns and like I said, it was just Sharon was kind of a miss, and that sucks because I loved her as a love interest for Steve. And obviously she can't be. And watching Winter Soldier and Civil War back, and then looking at this Sharon, I'm like, man, how did you get so far? Like it was
also
really far.
Also seeing Steve in Endgame go back to his aunt or her aunt and like fall in love with her aunt. Like it's just weird. It was just weird.
He just likes that family. Weird. He loves that family.
I guess so. Only the Carters.
The Carters. So let's step away from the characters a little bit and let's just talk about some significant moments, man. Let's start off with Sam giving up the shield. For me, I was like, I knew that was going to happen, but I'm still annoyed that happened. I'm still really annoyed that like he gave up the shield in the first place. So what did you think about that?
That's what this whole show was. Like, it was just to show Sam, because I think if he would have taken it right away, right after Steve gave it to him, I think a lot of people would have felt weird about it and like,
true,
a little off. Like, come on, like you can't just go from Falcon to. I mean, that's how I felt too. I hadn't read the comic books, so. I was like, oh, Bucky should be it. He's his best friend from back in the day and blah, blah, blah.
Right. Which they did a good job showing that too, of like why Bucky can't have the shield.
Yeah. No, they did a great job with that. So I think that's what this whole show is based on. So if he didn't give it up right away, you wouldn't have been introduced to John Walker, had this whole story arc of Sam getting the confidence and not even just the confidence, but knowing that he has to, like he doesn't have a choice. So I mean, I know it upset you, but that was the main plot thread for this entire show.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it now. I get the journey that he had to take now because you're right. If you would have taken it right away and he was Captain America right away, or the show was called Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he was Falcon with the shield. I think it would have been really, you're right, really abrupt. Like we need to give him time to develop into because this is where we find out that like how skillful he is with, we wouldn't have gotten that montage of him like, being awesome with the shield. maybe we would have, but not in the moniker of Captain America as Falcon. So it would have been weird making Falcon with the shield just to have the shield. Yeah. Speaking of that, John Walker, we already talked about him as Captain America, but let's talk about him killing that flag smasher, like that moment. Mm-hmm. I felt it was really significant. I felt it was really heavy and powerful. Again, I was relating it to the George Floyd incident here in America, and I felt that it was really well shot. I thought that ending shot with his shield and the blood at the bottom, powerful stuff, really powerful. I also like the fact that there were people with their phones like recording it. I thought that was really relevant to like the time. So, what did you think about that, dude?
To be honest, I was pretty bored with the show until that happened.
That was like your turning point.
Yeah, like not that the fight scenes weren't good in the first episode and the episodes leading up. Honestly, out of all of the episodes, episode 2 sticks out to me as just like the worst episode out of all of them because I thought the writing was really iffy. There wasn't a lot of story that advanced in episode 2. But as soon as he killed that guy, I was just like, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Where are we going with this? I'm not sure where we're going. Right. I like not being sure where we're going.
Totally.
So I think that was a huge turning point in the show because then you started getting a lot of different layers that were added in that hadn't happened in the prior episodes. Yeah. So as soon as that happens, you're like, all right, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks that guy fictionally lost his life, but it was pretty cool. And it also gives John Walker a little bit more depth than just this goody two-shoe guy that has all these medals and is now Captain America. Right. Like we honestly hadn't learned that much about him other than he had served all of these tours and he has a friend, Lamar. Like that was pretty much it.
And he had a friend.
That was all we knew about him.
Yeah.
So as soon as actually the super soldier serum, as soon as he took that, we knew it was leading to something.
Yeah. Well, that whole episode was really good for John. And I mean good in a story aspect. Like he's his fight with the Dora Milaje, like his thing with his talk with Lamar was in that episode too. Like all that stuff culminated into that murder. And so I liked it too. I liked how it sort of grew into this. Here's what it is. If Anakin Skywalker had that same sort of like build up, I would have liked Anakin way more in Attack of the Clone or Revenge of the Sith.
The last one? Yeah, Revenge of the Sith.
I would have liked that more because it justified the murder. I don't want to say justify the murder, but like it sort of like, he was angry. He like got that angry and he was mad because he's powerless. So now he's trying to take it. His ego is coming in. His pride's coming in. So I like that whole episode. Honestly,
it was very good. That was a very good episode.
Yeah. So, and I think it turned a point for the whole show. Like that was that shield, that photo, that picture was trending for a while on social media. So, that was really good. Let's talk about. We already talked about Sharon as a power broker. Let's talk about Sam finally being Captain America with costume, with abilities, with self-worth, self-value, things like that. What did you think? Let's talk about the costume first. What did you think about the costume?
Costume was awesome. It is so good. I also said it's like the direct opposite of I can't remember the exact point that I brought up when we were watching it, but the color scheme is the exact opposite of John Walker's color scheme. Yeah. That's right. When Walker becomes U.S. agent, it's literally the exact opposite. Black. So Walker has black with the red, and Sam has the white with the red, white and blue, or the white with the red and the blue. Yeah. But as far as like him becoming Captain America, his fight scenes were awesome. Like with the wings, the way that he used the wings, he used the shield just laying on the back right there. Dude, sick. Like so really, cool. Really well done. Like I said, my issues with this show were never any of the action scenes. They all looked flawless. They were all really MCU level fight scenes, and they were really good. it was always the writing that I just struggled with.
Yeah,
totally.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, as far as him becoming, it was well earned.
So agreed.
I felt okay with him being Captain America at the end of this show, whereas at the end of Endgame, I wasn't ready for him to become Captain America. So
right.
I think this show did what it was supposed to do in making him Captain America. So
agreed. His just his, you know, his, we'll talk about the speech, but his demeanor and the way he, you know, he's he's in therapy kind of, you know, he's the one that like leads groups for veterans and things like that. And so he's into being able to counsel people and to pastor people. And so I love that about him. And I think that's what makes him a good Captain America. But dang, is that not the most inventive way to like use his wings? Like all the stuff that happened, like all those action stuff, like they were all very inventive. I know that we saw that sort of like cocoon thing before with Vulture in Spider-Man, but this took it to like a really nice defensive like mechanism, like maneuver, which is really cool. Like I'd never think about that. I just like how it translated from comic book to live action, because you can only imagine like what he does with the stuff in the comic books. Like even when they're drawn out, it doesn't like it. The action scenes aren't like drawn like creatively enough for me where I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But they actually like did some really creative stuff with the wings. And I'm excited for him to keep using, because it's vibranium now and it's nanotech now. So literally he's, you know how Iron Man has like stuff just comes out of him now, you know, like stuff just came out of him, like pulsars and, you know, so that's the same technology. It's the same Wakanda technology that Black Panther has. So I'm excited. I'm sure that there's some other tricks up his sleeve that, you know, we don't even know about, which goes to show that he doesn't need to be a super soldier. I told this to you that like he's a mix between Iron Man and Captain America as far as abilities is concerned, because Tony Stark is just really good with the suit. He's just very, very good with the suit, and he knows how to use his technology. He knows how to use it. Same with Sam. He's always been a good flyer. After watching Winter Soldier, I was like, wow, he's just always been a good pilot. And for this, that's what he'll have above all the other heroes, which is air. Like he will conquer the air. And then having that shield is like just a really good defense thing. Again, Sam's awesome. Sam's I feel like you said, well earned. I feel like we do need a Black Captain America with the times that we're in. I think that representation does matter. I told you this, that I'm not a Shang-Chi fan, but like for some reason I'm like super stoked about Shang-Chi, but I'm not even a fan at all. I hate the fact that he's a kung fu master. But by nature of him having a movie, I'm for some reason hyped, you know, and
he's the best martial artist in the MCU. Like,
hands down.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my takeaway is that, you know, the reason why Black Panther was such a huge success for that community, for the Black community, was because it just was a great representation, because us brown and Black people don't get that often. And so the reason why I'm excited for Sam, and a lot of like colored people are excited for Sam, is because it's another way to represent. It's another thing, representation for them. So I felt it was well earned. So as far as like Sam is concerned, let's talk about that speech. Let's talk about that speech at the end.
I'll let you go first.
I thought after watching it maybe a 12th time, I felt that it could have been edited down. And I wonder if they did. I wonder if there was more to that script. I wonder if Anthony Mackie had to like memorize a full 2-page monologue or something, and they edited it down. Because I felt that they spoke on the points that they needed to speak onto into the show, but also as far as like society is concerned. And so it was a little preachy, but I think that's why I like it.
Yeah.
You know me, I love my sermons. And so maybe as a Christian, I liked it for that fact that like, it was very much like, I'm going to convict you, conviction, which some may say is not good. And I'll agree. But for this, it was him warning them about another Carly, him warning them about the byproduct of them being the byproduct of villains. and being, and, you know, the government being caregivers to being servants to their people. I feel that there is a smaller version, a shorter version that they could have edited down. But overall, I felt it got the point across. And I'm also thinking about all the other factors of like, oh, well, then look at all the shots of them panning out to Isaiah, to Torres, to Sarah. You know what I mean? All those shots, like, did they need that much time to make sure that those shots were honored? So I'm thinking about that stuff too, because overall, I liked the monologue. I did feel it was really heavy-handed. Yeah, I'll say that it was very heavy. And so, which is why I think maybe why your opinion comes in. So go ahead and share your piece.
Yeah, it was very heavy-handed. Yeah. Like, yeah. First off, the politicians just discussing that in front of all of those cameras. Right. Like, come on. That's true. There's no way that, granted, they were just saved, but there's no way that they are getting in that conversation right there. Yeah. Not to mention, like you said, it was just too long. Yeah. It was so long. Like, it was long. Like, again, they were just trying to over-explain all the problems and everything. And it's just like, there's definitely a way that they could have cut it down and cut the dialogue. And not to mention, when the politicians spoke, it was just, it felt like a Disney Channel show, or like, like literally he was saying something. They're like, no, that's not how it is. Or like the Power Rangers, like the acting all of a sudden was terrible because it was just so on the nose. And that's how I felt about a lot of the show, with all of the little social commentary things that they did. And even some of the jokes, they were just so heavy handed. Like, this in the second episode, when Sam is going to meet Isaiah for the first time, and one of those boys is there. Hey, it's Black Falcon. And then he's like, oh, should I call you Black Boy or Black Kid or whatever it was? And then I'm just like, that's just, I don't know. It just wasn't funny to me. Yeah. I understand the last joke when he said, hey, it's Black Falcon. He said, no, that's Captain America. Like, that was funnier. That I felt like that was more well done than a couple of the other jokes. You know, another one that stood out. I understand all the police stuff that's happening in America right now, but it was literally a 25-second scene where Sam and Bucky are there and the cops pull up and they're like, hey, what? Like, again, it just felt really heavy-handed. Like, it was just thrown in there. Like, they're just like, all right, let's look at the board of social commentary, throw the dart. Oh, there it is. Let's throw that in the episode. So, like I said, the Isaiah Bradley stuff was in the story and it was so well done. But they just tried to throw all of these things in that sure could make the story better and make people understand more. But they were done in a way that made me feel uneasy. And that's not how social commentary should be done. If you want to do it, you have to do it. Like I talked to you about this. If you have not watched the show The Watchmen on HBO, it's one season. They do a buttload of social commentary. There is a lot, but the writing is so well done and the actors do such a good job with it that you can feel uneasy about it, but it makes you think. And that's what social commentary in a show like this should that's how it should be done. It should make you think about it and not say, that was weird. That was done weird. Because then you're not thinking about the social commentary. You're just uneasy about the way that they did it. So yeah, I think overall it just, the monologue was way too long and it felt weird to me. So yeah, I don't know. I did have this, I saw this question. It was on an article and I want to ask it to you. Can there be a Black superhero that doesn't talk about social commentary?
Not right now. Not right now, because I look at it from a lens of a colored person, and it's funny, as a colored person who is on social media a lot because that's my job. I see a lot of really terrible comments. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people just who are continuing to be ignorant, and I'm talking about nerds just like you and me, who continue to downplay representation, who continue to downplay what it means for somebody to be represented, what it means to take social commentary and put it into our movies and our TV shows and our comic books, because that's what comic books were at first.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books was social commentary. Comic books had all that stuff, and so I think some people don't understand that it's just another way. It's just another voice. So
Mm-hmm.
it's in the same light as, a musician getting up for whatever award show, getting their award, and then talking about like whatever issue just came up. Well, some comments will be like, just stick to music.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you to tell me what I should think? Well, they're using their platform. And so I feel like Marvel is using their platform to try to talk about this stuff. And to your point, I think I could agree with you in saying that they should have done it a little bit better. Like there was probably a smoother way to do all the things that they did as far as socially is concerned. But I feel like there's no other show. They don't have any other property to be able to talk about this sort of issues. I mean, they tried a little bit with Black Panther. The reason why Killmonger existed was because there wasn't why is Wakanda holding up all these resources when their Black brothers and sisters out in the world are suffering? So it's that same sort of like light, where I don't know if Marvel would have been able to talk about this stuff if not for this show, especially for this year, especially for the year that we've had, 2020, with all the racial tension, with the pandemic, with all this sort of stuff. Like, would we have another opportunity? I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. But the great thing is that they were able to do it, and whether or not it was done well or not, I commend them for it, just because they tried, and they tried to be part of the political space in the language that they're speaking. So I mean, I agree with you, man. There's some more smoother ways probably they could have done it. Some better acting. Better acting would have helped. Better acting would have helped so much. Those cops, that was annoying. Like, I do wish that it wasn't like, so like, is this guy bothering you? Like, it was it was like that. What do you think? Then what do you think we should do, Sam? Like, at that, you're right. The acting, oh my gosh, it would have helped so much if you had actors that were capable of pulling stuff like that, because Anthony Mackie could do it. He's an A-level actor. But some of these people they put around him, I don't think served him well. So, so I agree with you there. But to answer your question, I think right now, you sort of can't, because if he doesn't talk about it, the comments will still come up. It's the same version of, so our pastor right now, our pastor's going through this like thing where people are getting annoyed at him that he's possibly going to give his mantle up, right? So like I think about that where you've got a good guy who just wants to do better for the church, but he's getting the butt end of the stick because some people don't understand him, or some people don't. If he doesn't talk about himself, I don't think anyone will. Anyone will defend him. So Sam kind of had to defend himself in the same way that, like, I think any black actor will have to defend himself when he becomes the lead of a super, especially for a title like Captain America, where America is in his title. Like, he could be Falcon. Anybody could be a Falcon, but like, being a representative of America, a black guy, I think he needs to defend himself. And so, to say all this to say that, like, I think there does need to be, he needs to talk. I mean, who else is going to talk about it? Everyone else is going to talk about it, but they're going to talk about it in a negative light. And they're gonna, then it's gonna be more tension, I feel, if they don't bring up the fact that, like, Sam said it himself. He's like, I could feel it even now, that some of you are thinking, why is this guy, I'm a black guy wearing the Stars and Stripes. Like he said, they put it in the script, but totally intentional, like you have to address it, that like cause it's like that thing where somebody's talking generalization, and then you happen to be part of that group that they're talking about, and that sort of convicts you. I think that's sort of what they were trying to do. So all this to say that the social stuff, heavy handed for sure, but I don't know where else they would have put it. I don't know where else they would have been able to speak on it. So all of this to say, what are your personal takeaways, Jake, from the full show, and what do you expect from Marvel going forward after this show? What do you think is going to happen?
I think my overall is that I probably won't watch this show again. Sure. I don't know how much I would get from it if I watched it again.
Yeah.
Other than reaffirming some of my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the show was okay. Right now, the 2 Marvel shows that have come out have been kind of underwhelmed with the ending. Like, I really enjoyed WandaVision, but the ending, the last 2 episodes or whatever, kind of just felt weird to me.
They're weird.
And it just feels like I'm going to give Loki a try. And if that one misses too, I may just like chill on watching the shows, because man, it right now, all it feels like is these shows are just to further plot points for the movies. So like the main purpose of this show, I honestly believe, is to talk about the blip and how it is affecting people after they came back from the blip.
Sure.
6 episodes, 6 hours, 5.5 hours, whatever it is. That's what I felt like the main takeaway from the show was.
Yeah.
And I feel like there should be a story in the show that isn't just character development. There should be a story that is a good, cohesive story that makes me want to watch it again, and not just, oh, okay, this is the next Marvel thing, so I have to watch this. So in saying all of that, if I'm going to give this show a grade 1 to 10, I don't remember what I gave WandaVision. I'm probably a 7 something.
Yeah, something like that. I think that was, yeah.
This would probably be like a 6.2.
Okay. It's fair.
Just because of the fight scenes were so awesome.
Yeah.
The fight scenes were so good. And the way that Sam used his wings to fly throughout the sky and used them while he was fighting.
Yeah.
There were a couple interesting moments, like the John Walker thing where he killed the Flag Smasher.
Yeah.
But overall, very underwhelmed. I understand that Captain America and being a black guy, there has to be some social commentary. I think they should have leaned more in with the Isaiah Bradley stuff and less with the little tiny things for Sam, because that goes against what he was believing. Like if that stuff is happening to Sam, he should be more understanding, and not that he wasn't more understanding to Isaiah, but he was almost fighting Isaiah on the idea that there can't be a black man as Captain America. So if those things are happening to Sam, you would think, as his personal perspective, like the bank thing that happened, like you would think that he would be more understanding with Isaiah. Not that he wasn't understanding, but he was almost fighting back at Isaiah. Like, yeah, I know, but it's different now. It's better now. And if it wasn't better and those things are happening to Sam, then that kind of goes against what he's saying. So yeah, I think they should have leaned more in with Isaiah. I think that storyline was so good.
It's good. It's a good storyline. Yeah.
And it really showed a human aspect of the effects that racism and things like that, and the bad things that the country has done, how it affects a family and how it affects a man that fought for that country and your freedoms. Like they should have leaned more into that. And I think the show would have been so much better for it, but they just had to over explain everything. And now that I'm talking about it, I feel like I want to lower my score, but I'm going to keep it at a 6.2.
No, that's fair, dude. That's fair. I think my personal takeaways are, I really did. I think it did serve a purpose. I think it served the purpose of easing the transition from Steve to Sam, and giving Bucky a new Captain America. He needs one. You know, Bucky's sort of a loner without Steve. So I think for them to further Sebastian Stan's contract and to make him more of a staple in the MCU. I think they needed this for Bucky as well. But I think they set up a lot. They set up Thunderbolts. They set up,
but again, it's just set up for more movies.
It is. And I feel like that's what the shows are going to be. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like which is, I think, okay, because we expect a lot from the movies. Like, dang, like we got 23 of them, all I'd say 90% of them are high caliber. There's a good 10% that suck, but they're a huge part of like the whole Infinity War saga. So I think having high quality shows like this are really good. I mean, they're even beyond the Netflix shows that came out too, and those weren't even a part of it. Like these are direct characters from the movies pulled into TV shows. So like, I like that. It gives them time to develop because they couldn't do it in the movies. So I love Sam. I have this Funko Pop right here with me. I already pre-ordered the Sam Wilson Captain America one. I just like Captain America so much. Yeah. And I thought that like it would be a different feeling for me, a different Captain America. But the same way that you like Batman, you like him for his ideals and you like him for his stories and things like that. I'm loving Sam Wilson Captain America because of the same thing that I like Captain Steve for, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a healthy thing for a legacy character. Marvel moving forward, man, I'm excited to see the Thunderbolts. I really am, because Elena Belova was supposed to be in this. She was supposed to come in and free Zemo for the Thunderbolts, and so which leads me to believe that like Elena Belova, the new Black Widow. You've got Zemo. You're gonna get U.S. Agent. Like, who else are they gonna get? I'm so excited for that. I just really want to see like a dark version of the Avengers. They're saying that might be like a Suicide Squad sort of movie, and I'm like, I'm totally down. And not like space, not like Guardians of the Galaxy, but like grounded. Political, and I'm like, I'm down for that. I love that. I love sort of like the political thriller. So I'm down for that. And like you said, more Sam with his wings and shield. Like that's they're the skies are the limit for that. They've got so many creative ideas with that. So I'm excited to see more of that.
I would say that the two that I'm excited for now that I think about it, because I didn't answer that because I was so heated about that.
No worries.
No worries. The two that I am excited for is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yes.
Gore the God Butcher storyline is so good, and he's such a good. I finally read that comic. It's so good.
Awesome.
Not to mention Ragnarok, if they do it in that tone, was such a good Marvel movie. Totally. And I remember seeing it in theaters. I was like, Marvel just always got to make jokes, and I don't like it, and it's stupid, but they did such a good job with it. Yeah. So Thor: Love and Thunder is probably my most anticipated, and then Moon Knight. Like Oscar Isaac is going to do such a good job with that. I've read a little bit of Moon Knight. I'm planning on reading more before the show comes out. Yeah. But the character is very cool. He's nothing like Batman. Anyone that says that is lying. They're
silly. Silly. They're just not well versed. Yeah.
Yeah. I will try Loki because I like Loki as a character.
Yes. Yeah.
I think he's a very interesting character. And we have to also remember that this is the Loki from Avengers, not from Ragnarok or Infinity War. Yeah. So
they might even say that in the show. They might even say like, oh, well, Owen Wilson's character might even be like, well, there's a different version of you out there that died. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, ooh, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun.
I'm excited. I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So let us know what you're excited about as far as Marvel is concerned. Let us know what you thought about Falcon and Winter Soldier. We'd love to chat with you. That's one of the things that we like to do here is get involved and come hang out with us in Nerdy Christian Bible Study, 7:30 Eastern time on Tuesday nights. I put out a Zoom link. Follow us on Facebook.com/Nerdy Christian. Just really excited for what's coming up next for me too. Loki's really great, and I'm excited for just all of Marvel. There's so much Marvel coming out like this year. There's so much. So that's awesome. So I am your pal, Alan.
I'm Jake.
And have a great day. Be nerdy and stay Christian. Bye.
Peace.